Ladies and gentlemen, what's good? We're back with another Call of Duty Mobile video. It's that time of the season, and we are bringing you guys the top 5 guns in the game. Obviously, we had some really important buffs and nerfs this season. One of those major nerfs being to the #1 gun in the game, the Switchblade. So we are going to be breaking down all the changes as well as some newcomers, as we did have some pretty significant buffs as well. Hope you guys do enjoy the video. If you do me a huge favor, drop a like down below, subscribe to the squad if you haven't already, and we'll go ahead and hop in the action. It's gonna look like I'm changing outfits a lot as this video progresses. Don't worry about it, just nod and agree. Let's get it. Now I will say this has been one of the toughest seasons to make the top 5 guns just because of how balanced the meta is, and to be honest, there's a lot of guns that could potentially be in our top 5, could potentially be in our honorable mentions that don't get talked about just because they cover different playstyles that might not be as popular, but there's a lot of really good options out there, and it's really up to you guys to explore them for yourselves. Starting off, we got our honorable mentions. First, we got the M13, which has always been a crazy consistent option. A lot of seasons we put it right there with the Kilo and kind of combine the two, but to be honest, I don't feel like it quite has the edge as far as consistency goes to be mentioned inside the top 5, but it is no question one of the easiest guns to use in the game, especially in the mid to long range. This thing can dominate, and if you have the accuracy to land a headshot, it can absolutely demolish. We also have an honorable mention for our new Lapa SMG. Obviously, we did gameplay for this last night. It's a great aggressive weapon, but it's lacking in a couple different departments. It doesn't have great range. The bullet speed is very slow, so if you build out for bullet speed, it's lacking in some other departments. If you don't build out for bullet speed, it takes forever for your bullets to get there and you lose the gunfight. I have a feeling we might see a buff come to this, and obviously one of the big downsides is the lack of a good iron sight. Both the epic variant and the base variant have absolutely atrocious iron sights, so I feel the need to throw a red dot on there, which is additionally punishing because it has so many great attachments. Another gun which was obviously previously in our top 5 is going to be the Switchblade, which got a pretty sizable nerf this season. While the Switchblade is still able to dominate up close, very similar to what we saw in the MAC-10 in previous seasons, it now is really lacking in the mid to long range, and because of some buffs to some other weapons in this category, it's really difficult for me to put it inside the top 5 just because of its lack of consistency across multiple ranges. The Holger. Obviously, this gun got a pretty sizable buff last season. Previously, it was a very viable option, but it was lacking a little bit in bullet spread accuracy. It got a very big buff to that category specifically, and because of that, it is absolutely no question one of the most dominant LMGs, and I would say the most dominant LMG in COD Mobile right now. From what I've been told, this is one of the only 3 guns that is currently used in Garena, and the Switchblade prior to the buff was the other one that I was told is being used a lot, so I've got a feeling we're going to see a lot of Holgers in the upcoming championships featuring the Garena and China teams. And the beauty of the 100-round magazine is that pre-fire ability up close can make it viable in tight situations, as well as the fact that it has great long-range viability. Coming in at number 5, we got the PP19 Bizon. This is a gun that got a pretty sizable buff this season. It was already very consistent. Now with a new damage range, it's actually able to 3-shot up close as an SMG. Part of the beauty of the PP19 is its ease of use. It, number 1, has no recoil. Number 2, it's got 64 bullets in the base magazine, which means you can pre-fire all day long, and if you're missing a couple shots, it'll be pretty forgiving. Like I mentioned at the outset, this gun also now has the ability to 3-shot up to 8 meters for the base range, and if you throw the marksman barrel on there, you can extend that out to around 10 meters. The one caveat to this is you do need to land 2 upper body or arm shots in order to lock in that 3-shot time to kill, or you can also hit 1 headshot. But for an accurate player, it is definitely very feasible to do, especially when you do look at that ease of use that results from the fact that the gun has no recoil. It doesn't have the fastest fire rate in the game, so it is going to be a little more punishing when you miss shots, and one of the changes that happen in the buffs and nerfs is it's not going to be quite as consistent at long range anymore. So you do now have to use this more like an SMG, but it definitely doesn't struggle at doing that in any way. Coming in at number 4, we have the XPR/SKS. Even though the XPR did get a nerf last season, it didn't actually do anything to multiplayer. It got a nerf right after I dropped my top 5 guns video. To be honest, the nerf didn't really impact multiplayer at all, so the XPR is still a phenomenal option and can definitely dominate with somewhat the same consistency as the pre-nerf SVD. Obviously, that was the gun that previously we had alongside the SKS on a lot of these top 5 guns lists just because of both of their abilities to dominate in the long range. Feel like if you've watched my top 5 guns videos before, there's not a whole lot I need to say about these guns, but they are marksman rifles and snipers that are a little bit more versatile Mobile because of faster rate of fires, and it gives them a little bit more ability to survive in respawn matches where a lot of times snipers and marksmen struggle to survive. Guaranteed one-tap headshots on both of these guns mean that if you're accurate enough, it can shred in any map, but it's really all about the user. Coming in at number 3 is a gun that's been in our top 5 many times before. It's going to be the CBR. I'm not really sure why, but COD Mobile has buffed the CBR in back-to-back seasons, so it went from a gun that is just barely outside the top 5 to now that it's gotten some buffs to its bullet spread accuracy and its recoil. On top of the fact that it's already got a 50-round magazine, I would say one of the easiest to use SMGs in the game alongside the Bizon in the hands of an accurate player. Even though it does have some of those multipliers that can make it difficult to do, you can achieve that 4-shot up close, which makes it absolutely lethal. The CBR does specialize a little bit more in the close to mid range, not necessarily as much in the long range, although I found if you build it out for bullet spread accuracy, it can definitely win some of those gunfights as well. Coming in at number 2, no question the most consistent and probably the easiest to use gun in the game, especially in the hands of skilled players, is going to be the Kilo. I've been going back and forth on whether or not I think the Kilo should be the number 1 assault rifle or even weapon in the game, and to be honest, it's kind of pick and choose based on your ping. I feel like a lot of times whenever it feels like my shots aren't connecting because my ping isn't the best, Kilo feels like a better option. When the shots are connecting, the Krig feels a little bit better. You got to take into account these are also both based on having the mythic version of the gun, so even though it may not put it outside the top 5, having that mythic version, having that extra attachment slot that you're not going to use for a red dot is definitely really helpful. With all that being said, the Kilo is definitely an absolute powerhouse this season. I've actually started running the Ranger foregrip, which I know is unusual for a lot of people, especially myself, but the amount of recoil control and bullet spread accuracy that you get out of adding that into the equation is absolutely insane, and I think it's going to be worth it overall. Even though the Kilo doesn't really have that much potential for decreasing your time to kill like it used to have with that 1 headshot, now you need at least 2 headshots in order to decrease it. It's still crazy consistent across any range. You can beam from just about anywhere, and I would say it's definitely the best long-range assault rifle in COD Mobile right now. And finally, at our number 1 spot, it's high risk, high reward. It's going to be the Krig 6 assault rifle. Now, the Kilo is a gun that you can kind of give or take whether or not you want to use red dot. In my opinion, the Krig isn't. If you want to take any type of long-range gunfight, you're going to need either a mythic skin or a red dot, which is part of the reason why I debated whether or not this was going to be the number 1 option. With that being said, if you build it out properly with good bullet speed, this thing is an absolute monster, can somewhat consistently 3-tap in the mid to close range, and has very good mobility for an assault rifle, on top of the fact that it's got a lot of variety in attachments because it has the Black Ops attachment. I've got a good feeling we're going to see a lot of the Krig in the COD Mobile Championships. Obviously, we were watching some of the China and Garena matches this morning, and it was everywhere. Might take a little bit of practice to get used to, but once you get the feel for the bullet speed, this thing is a beam. Hope you guys did enjoy our top 5 guns this season, though. If you have any thoughts, anything you think I should have changed, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.